Take the light! For Morderon! For the Alliance!
The following video is made after the request of Michael Lurkey, or however you pronounce it, and his question was: I want to get to know the whole storyline from World of Warcraft to World of Warcraft Mist of Pandaria. To catch up about things between Alliance, what happened and stuff, and what about Theramore? Smiley face. Well, Michael, it's a bit too much work to tell the complete story of World of Warcraft to Mist of Pandaria in one video. That's not gonna happen. But I'll try to focus on the highlights of the Alliance and on Theramore, and maybe later on I'll make a project where I tell the complete story. It sounds like fun and it might be something that I'll do. If I'm wrong about anything, if you have any additional information, please leave a comment below or a video response and let's make it an informative video together. So the highlights for the Alliance would be in vanilla that we had no King of Stormwind. Well, we had Anduin Wrynn, but his father was gone and missing in order of Onyxia. Later on he returned safe and sound, and I have another video that goes into more details around all of this. In Burning Crusade, the Draenei joined us, and they escaped from Draenor and were on the run from Kill Jaden. The ship crashed on Kalimdor, and they found refuge in the Alliance. I'm not 100% sure how they found out about the Alliance or why they joined it, but it's probably because, first of all, the Alliance had fought against the Burning Legion before and had won, and that the orcs had mass murdered most of the race. The last part was probably a big part of the decision. In Wrath of the Lich King, DeathKnights step away from the Lich King and return to their own factions. They're allowed in at the request of Tyrion Fordring, and Tyrion was one of the first paladins and a hero during the Second War. The Second War was between the Old Alliance of Lordaeron and the Old Horde, and Tyrion, well, it was in high respects of Varian, so Varian was like, yeah, come on, bring the Death Knights because you requested it. In Cataclysm, the Dwarves lose their original king Magni Bronzebeard and get the Council of Three Hammers in return. During the exploration of Ulduar, the Dwarves found a set of mystical tablets created by the Titans. Activating one such tablet to protect his people from the Cataclysm, King Magni Bronzebeard fell prey to a terrible curse, and the curse fused his statue-like form into the diamond heart of Ironforge itself. In Cataclysm in-game, Malfurion Stormrage returns from the Emerald Dream and stands his place next to Theron the Whisperwind. However, in the novel Stormrage, this is a little bit before the Cataclysm, it is revealed that Malfurion has been captured in the Emerald Dream and is being tortured and used by the Nightmare Lord for the purpose of conquering both the Emerald Dream and Azeroth. With the help of Theron the Whisperwind, Brawl Baremantle, the Dragon Aspects Ysera and Alexstrasza, King Varian Wrynn and a host of others, Malfurion was able to escape the clutches of the Nightmare and return to the physical plane of Azeroth for the first time since the Third War. With the help of his comrades, he was able to stop the Nightmare Lord and put an end to the threat of the Emerald Nightmare. At the same time, Malfurion discovered the cause of the Great Tree's corruption in the Donasis area and removed it, enabling the tree to become the haven and monument it was meant to be. The Worgen have joined us during the Cataclysm, since the great walls of the city crumbled down because of it, and now they find themselves in need of allies. Varian Wrynn first refused to accept them into the Alliance. He thought that they were cowards because they pulled all their troops back after the Second War, built their mighty wall to keep everyone out, and even refused refugee to people during the Scourge invasion of Lordaeron. After some events in the novel Wolfheart, Varian aka Logash aka Goldrin decides that there's more to the Worgen and lets them in. Gnomes get a king, also in Cataclysm, in the form of Galbin Megatork. He tries to retake Gnomeregan but isn't completely successful. The gnomes do get their own starting place since they previously shared it with the dwarves. In Mist of Pandaria we'll get the Pandaren to join us. The turtle island where the Pandaren live is in pain because of a thorn in its side. This thorn turns out to be an airship of the Alliance that held Horde prisoners. The Pandaren is informed that both factions needs their help in Azeroth and they get to choose which side to take. And once they've decided on a side, they're informed that once you join the Alliance you have to look out for your Alliance brothers, and even the Pandaren that joined the Horde you'll need to kill them even when they were friends or lovers or whatever.
I understand you want to join the Alliance. Well, we always have need of allies. I'd be a fool to turn you away, especially at a time of war. But there are a number of things I need to make clear to you.
Yes, go on.
First, the races of the Alliance look out for one another. You are expected to provide aid to Alliance members in need, whether they be human, gnome, Draenei, or Pandaren. It is a simple guideline, but a meaningful one. Do you understand?
Certainly.
Good, because that brings me to my second point. Not all Pandaren have chosen the same path as you three. some have sided with the Horde. They, along with the other barbarian clans of the Horde, are your new enemies. Those who you once considered friends, or even those you might have loved, are now your sworn adversaries. I am deeply sorry. But the battle lines have been drawn. I will not tolerate any fraternizing with the enemy, as you could expose our alliance to danger. Do I make myself clear?
Anduin Wrynn, his part is kinda separate from the others because I believe he will have a greater part in either Mist of Pandaria or in the next expansion. In the novel Wolfheart, Anduin Wrynn leaves his father and follows Velen the Draenei prophet to study the ways of the light. I haven't seen anything of this in the game though, but that's the way the story is told. In Mist of Pandaria, you find out that Anduin was on the ship that crashed on Pandaria. You track him down with an elite team, but he refuses to go home. He feels guilty about what is happening to the Pandaren, so naturally he wants to help them. I'm not entirely sure what his role on Pandaria is, or will be, or why he was on the ship in the first place, but I think he will have a large role. If you look at the short stories written for Blizzard, this story is about the prophet Velen and Anduin, and it's set in the time around the Cataclysm. I'll read you a bit about it. What is the path? A distant war or some far-flung world? You're needed here, needed now. Is that why you've never warned of the Cataclysm? Was it just beneath your notice? Are we all insects to you, or worse? Chess pieces? It'd been ages since someone dared rebuke the prophet. He spun to face the prince, surprised as he often was when it came to humans, by how quickly the child seemed to becoming a man, by the adult in the world hurled at him. And as soon as Anduin came into view, the world changed. Instead of the prince, an armored warrior stood before him, his plate helm and breastplate shining with the essence of the light itself. The warrior wielded a sword forged from the same material as the armor, held it aloft as he perched on an outcropping. Whether it was on another world or Azeroth, Velen couldn't quite tell. And suddenly, the dark sky above erupted with the combined chivalry of Azeroth races. The Blood Elves, Orcs, Trolls, Taurens, and even the accursed undead and scheming goblins rode flying mounts of every sort and description. They were armored and armed in magical weaponry, glowing with so much power it hurt Velen's eyes to look at them. Beside the legions of the Horde, the ancient Night Elves charged with humans, dwarves and gnomes, whose ancestors formed the original alliance, and the shape-changing Worgen were united within them. Velen's own Draenei bolstered the army, their ranks abandoned in otherworldly metals and bearing crystalline maces and swords. The Alliance and Hordes were not alone. Dragons swooped and soared in formations that made the sky resemble a giant, multicolored reptilian wing. They blanketed the horizon with their physical size and numbers, and when they roared a challenge, it shook not just the earth Velen stood on, but the universe as well. And yet for all this, the greatest shock to Velen's senses came as he saw those that flew just beyond the army of the dragons. The Naru had taken the field, so many that Velen didn't understand how creation could contain them. The power of these beings of light filled Velen's heart with hope, swept away the lonely centuries, and left him in wonder that he could ever despair, that the dark, no matter how terrible, could ever truly reign. And then a shadow fell. It was vast and empty, and swallowed all light that entered it. Velen knew it would be all-consuming, until at last it would turn and devour itself, endlessly gnawing on nothing in the great dark beyond, removing all meaning from the universe, from the most heartbreaking sonata to the most arresting sunset. It was too terrible to see, to comprehend, and yet the army headed straight for it, and the light began to fade. So those would be the highlights of the Alliance. Now for specifically on Theramore, I already have a couple of videos about Jaina and Theramore itself, but I'll do a quick summary of it. Theramore was founded by Jaina Proudmoore after the events of Warcraft 3. They call these events the Third War, where Arthas destroys pretty much all of his people because they're infected, and the Burning Legion wants to take over the world, but the combined forces of orcs, humans and night elves prevent them. The people of Theramore are basically the people Jaina saved from Arthas' wrath. They live in peace next to Thrall until attacks are made on the orcs and trolls by humans. Thrall sends Rexxar to Jaina to find out what is going on, but Jaina has no idea about it. They find out that her father, Admiral Proudmoore, has come to visit and he wants to kill all the orcs. Jaina wants nothing of it and even helps the Horde to take down her own father. Up to Mist of Pandaria, nothing exciting really happens to the place. You have a part where Jaina stumbles upon the old Guardian, the old role model, and the Guardian decides to stay at Jaina her side. You also have the part where Jaina helps recover Varian's memory, but to Theramore itself nothing really happens. In Cataclysm we had new quests where some of the army of Jaina would like to go back to the old orc killing days, but Jaina wants peace and wants nothing of it. In Mist of Pandaria, Goras decides it's a good idea to bomb the place with the focusing iris, killing all of Jaina, her people, and even Ronan. Ronan is the current leader of the Kirin Tor. With Theramore destroyed, Jaina takes up the mantle and becomes the leader of the Kirin Tor. So there you have it, the highlights of the Alliance and the story for World of Warcraft. Like I said, I might actually make a series about all of the stories because I find lore very interesting and a lot of fun, but time will tell. If you have any other requests or questions, please send me a message on YouTube and I'll see what I can do. And until next time guys, see ya!